Howdy-ho, BCTVites. It's 5:45 p.m., which means it's time for BCTV's weekly media roundup. I'm tonight's host, Roland Boyden. The show, 5:45 Live. Now on deck tonight, the 60 Minutes of South Korea comes to Brattleboro to document the decommissioning process at VY. Andy Weir, author of the hit novel-turned-blockbuster The Martian, makes a stop by Brooks Memorial Library via Skype, and tenured Guilford Selectboard chair and writer announces her resignation. Plus, we'll get you a jam-packed and somewhat spooky Halloween weekend edition of the calendar all on the way, so stick with us. Welcome to a very spooky edition of 5:45 Live.
Now.
And with that, welcome back to this October 30th, 2015 edition of 5:45 Live here. There's a flashback to the first ever Halloween special on 5:45 Live, hosted with BCTV Operations Manager Vlasta Popelka in costume back in October of 2011. And with that, into the headlines we go, and we'll start with the Brattleboro Selectboard, as they kicked off the first of an epic 8 back-to-back meeting run, all slated for the usual Tuesday night time slot, with much debate over the fate of the police fire upgrade project to come, as well as final stages of the town's zoning regulations reboot and overall budget season.
We're going to be meeting as a select board pretty much every Tuesday from now until Christmas. We're going to begin discussing publicly the budget development process. It is an opportunity for anybody who wants to have more information about the budget development process and what we're bringing in and what we're spending and what we're planning to do over the course of the next year to be involved.
Again, there'll be a Brattleboro Select Board meeting each and every week for the next 7 weeks, and they'll be covered here on BCTV with regular meetings getting the usual 3-camera coverage, and we'll get special meetings in there with 1-camera operation as well to get you all the latest as they continue to work through the budget, look at the police fire upgrade 3 options on the table, and finish up with this zoning regulation massive reboot all on the way. Now, speaking of budget season, it's that time of year for towns in BCTV's viewing area, and that means extra meetings and long nights for Select Board members across the county. Now, that's something that longtime Guilford Select Board Chair Ann Ryder took as a reason to announce her resignation after personal plans that would take her away from more than a month of the budget process prompted her to pull out altogether rather than be absent for some of the town's toughest decisions.
There are family issues that will be pretty pressing for me, and I will not be able to devote the time to the chairmanship that I think it deserves. So I am stepping down as of the end of this meeting.
Now, Ryder saw the board through the spring's tough transition from a 3 to 5-member board. The board plans to appoint a replacement until a special election can be held to fill her seat. All right, moving on, time to check in with VY Entergy, the state of Vermont, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission as we continue to track all the happenings with the Vermont Yankee plant in Vernon and the decommissioning process there. And for that, we'll launch into a story written by our hardworking 5:45 Live intern, Abby Sherlock. Now, on October 1st, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission unanimously refused Vermont's appeal to reactivate the ERDS, or Emergency Response Data System. Vermont spoke up in favor of the ERDS, claiming that it's a necessary alert system in case of radiological accidents, but the NRC only requires the ERDS at facilities that produce power. Alert systems at Vermont Yankee are still in place. The ERDS came about after the Pennsylvania 3 Mile Island incident in 1979 and became the ERS data link between the NRC and specific plants. In the future, Entergy wishes to reduce the emergency planning zone from a wider circle surrounding the plant to just the plant area itself, which would lead to the end of funding for emergency planning in nearby towns. The state has long opposed getting rid of the alert system, wanting an alternative to the ERDS if Entergy decided to pull the plug, but the NRC called the state's claim inconsistent. The NRC claims that because of the decreased risk of a nuclear accident, there's no need for the ERDS anymore. However, the NRC commissioner states that the government's ERDS regulations should be put under review. Now, as the region continues to try and follow the fate of spent fuel on site at Vermont Yankee and Vernon, Entergy communications consultant Marty Cohn has been producing a monthly half-hour series on BCTV entitled Safe Store Matters, in which he interviews members of the community, VY decommissioning team, plant closure, economists, and much more. And his work has won some extra attention in countries like South Korea and Japan as they look to decommission their own plants, while making the process transparent to the public. This has prompted members of one of South Korea's most prominent investigative news teams to travel to the U.S. to follow Marty in action, including filming him at BCTV this week as he recorded the latest episode of Safe Store Matters with guest Patty O'Donnell.
A huge asset to our community.
You can find that episode of Safe Store Matters. It's their 7th, in fact, at the Safe Store Matters landing page, series page at BrattleboroTV.org, or find it at vydecommissioning.com. All right, time to move on in the headlines here. A recent area fire has displaced a family living on Canal Street in Brattleboro. Firefighters were quick to respond and were able to prevent much worse damage to the home. Fire Chief Pete Lynch said that he had minutes before being in danger of losing the whole roof. Lynch also commended the volunteer staff for coming to assist. The families are expected to return back home within the week after the fires destroyed some of the attic area. The fire was not reported to be suspicious, and there were no injuries to either humans or pets. Firefighters around 5 a.m. while the families were being evacuated. The building required a hose line to be fed up the stairs and into the attic, and although there were no major difficulties, the firefighters had to work with the equipment in tight spaces to contain the fire. Now, the fire department had 8 trucks at the scene, and the fire was contained in under an hour. Now, speaking of area fires, not only is October National Firefighters Month, but this past weekend also marked the region's annual Firefighters for Fitness 5K fundraiser, and BCTV news specialist James Banslaven was on hand to gather footage of the event.
3, 2, 1, go! You're off! All right. There you go. Congratulations. And here's more. Here we go. Got a competition for second place. Look at this. Coming down to the wire. There we go. Great job.
All right, time to move on, and for this we'll head south now to Brooks Memorial Library as Andy Weir, author of the hit novel The Martian, that's now made its way to the big screen in the Matt Damon blockbuster of the same name, joined teens at 3 libraries across the state of Vermont via Skype this past Wednesday, including a group at Brooks Memorial Library, to talk with area teens about how he wrote the book, his own tips on writing, and where his work will take him next.
What inspired you to write this book?
I was sitting around imagining how a manned mission to Mars could actually work. Like, how could we do it with modern technology without any made-up stuff? And then any mission plan needs to account for what happens if there's a failure, a problem, some sort of disaster. And how do you make sure the astronauts don't die just because something broke? And as I started to think about all the things that could go wrong, I realized I had a pretty interesting story idea. So I created an unfortunate protagonist and subjected him to all of it.
If you want to watch that full Skype talk lectures... If you want to watch that full author talk via Skype with Andy Weir and teens from 3 area libraries, including Brooks Memorial Library, it's a half-hour special. You can find it this coming week right here on BCTV Comcast Channel 8, or find it at BrattleboroTV.org to stream at your leisure. All right, time to move on in the headlines here, and for that we're going to check in with Vermont Senator and presidential hopeful Bernie Sanders. And for that, we're going to turn to the students of Hilltop Montessori School's after-school journalism crew, as they've been following Bernie on his YouTube channel, looking for stories and clips to report on. And for that, we'll send it to them.
Moving on, Bernie Sanders spoke up in Senate recently to end high prescription drug prices. He compared U.S. prices to other countries and called out big pharmaceutical companies that charge some of the highest prices worldwide.
The United States is the only major country on earth, the only one, that does not in one form or another regulate prescription drug prices. And what that means is you could walk into the drugstore and the pharmacist tomorrow, and you can find that the price that you are paying for a drug that you've been using for many years has doubled, tripled, or gone up 10 times.
And with that, time to launch into our BCTV video calendar. This weekly segment is all sponsored by the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, as their generous contributions to BCTV each year help fund our weekly look at upcoming events. And we've got plenty of Halloween stuff to break down on the calendar. But first, a quick mention that daylight savings time ends tomorrow night, so make sure your non-smartphone connected clocks get the proper fallback treatment, just in case you have an important brunch date that you can't be late for on Sunday, or definitely make sure the clocks get reset before Monday morning. All right, let's start into the calendar. by talking Brattleboro Film Festival as they get set to unveil 30 films in 10 days with a wide range of films from The Wizard of Oz to hard-hitting documentaries. And they're actually in the midst of their opening night kickoff festivities at the Latches right now.
It was a really crack team this year. We all have very different opinions about films, but everybody is very good at giving an intelligent argument to fight for whatever film they want in the festival.
Now, there's not one but two programs running on BCTV right now and available to stream at BrattleboroTV.org about the Brattleboro Film Festival, including a coming attractions piece, which has trailers for all 30 films, and an interview with 4 members of the festival as they talk about some of their favorite films, events that go along with the films, and more. There's also a detailed flyer in this week's pamphlet. The full program for the festival, all 10 days of it, and all the special events that go along with it can be found in the most recent Commons, which are free on newsstands all around town. And if you want all the details, there are plenty of links, trailers, and downloadable PDFs on the schedule at BrattleboroFilmFestival.org. All right, now as promised, we'll get into the spooky Halloween fun here and see just how much we can pack into our remaining minutes of calendar coverage. And for that, I'll go back into the close-up here. We'll start with First Baptist Church on Main Street as they play host to Oregon Spooktacular with the Phantom at 7 p.m., Then over to the Rouleau Holly's Taekwondo Center in West B as they have a 6 to 9 p.m. Halloween fun party tonight. Then on to tomorrow as Kids Place goes all out for Halloween from 10 to 2 p.m. on their Elliott Street space. And then north to Putney as Putney's Pierce Hall will throw a Halloween costume contra dance party tomorrow night from 4:30 to 10 p.m. And of course, that is just a fraction of some of the area Halloween events. There's hay rides. There's so much going on. If you want to follow up on more of these events, you can check out the calendar at ibrattleboro.com, ibrattleboro.com/calendar. You can find the Reformers calendar at reformer.com, or check out the Brattleboro Area Chamber of Commerce as they have a calendar page that's pretty fantastic on their website as well. Some of the places we check when we put together this calendar segment. Find more on all the Halloween happenings and, of course, things that aren't even related to Halloween that are happening this weekend as well, of which there are plenty of events. All right, with that, time to launch into the weather. This is all courtesy of the high school's morning news advisory broadcast crew, BUHS TV. What's this weekend's weather look like for trick-or-treating, guys?
Saturday, we have a partly cloudy day, also a high of 54 and a low of 38. On Sunday, there's a chance of thunderstorms, so I would just suggest staying inside. You have a high of 58 and a low of 42. And on Monday, you have a partially cloudy day and a high of 60 and a low of 36. Now back to the desk.
All right, that does it for another edition of 545 Live. Thanks for joining us. We'll be sure to check in with you next week. We'll be back for another edition right here on BCTV Comcast Cable Channel 8 at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, thanks for watching.
Intern at Strolling of the Heifers, and from all of us to you, we are wishing you a very happy Halloween. Super Fresh Organic Cafe!
Isabel, Brattleboro Food Co-op. I'm a rainbow.
I'm the Queen of Hearts.
Aww. Annie H, Brattleboro Food Co-op. Hello, I'm Melissa from Nice Little Luxuries.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm the Queen of Hearts. The master card of hearts. Thank you.
Happy Halloween from BCTV. Woof, 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 woof.